Hello, my name is Tammy Medlin, and I'm the local history librarian here at the Wilson County Public Library, and I would like to thank you for joining us for Back to School. And we're going to be looking at the history of Wilson County schools through some old vintage photographs. This is a map of Wilson County schools from 1917, and this is a map showing only schools for white children. And you can see there are a total of 51 schools, and over half, 25 of them were one-room schools, 15 were two-room schools, 6 were three-room schools, and there were 5 high schools. And this map shows how many schools were located in each township. A lot of the changes in Wilson County schools were the work of one man, Charles Lee Kuhn, who was superintendent of Wilson City Schools from 1907 to 1927, and superintendent of Wilson County Schools from 1913 until 1927. Now what he did is he got rid of a lot of the 1, 2, and 3-room old-fashioned wooden frame schoolhouses that were heated by wood or coal and did not have electricity and had outside bathrooms. Now, unfortunately, a lot of his changes did only apply to schools for white children. This is a map from 1924, so it's a couple of years after the first map, and you can see we have gone down from 51 schools to 17 schools. There are 7 high schools, and there are no one-room schools, at least not for white children. All the one-room schools for white children are gone. There were, unfortunately, still some one-room schools for African American children, and they are not on this map. This map actually came from a report of Wilson County Schools, 1913-1914 through 1923-1924, and it was by Dr. Kuhn. We do not have a copy of that report here at the library. It is available online through East Carolina's digital collection, which is where I found it. Okay, this is a photo for Neverson School. It was located in Oldfield Township, and it was a one-room school. So all the grades would have been in that one room. There probably would have been one teacher. This photograph dates till about 1920. You can see they have a lot of windows to take advantage of natural light. There's not a lot of electricity. The building is up on piers, up off the ground, so the air circulate and cool that a little bit. It probably has a high ceiling inside, so the heat will rise and it'll cool that. There's not going to be any indoor plumbing. There's going to be outhouses outside, probably one for the boys, one for the girls. There is a chimney, so it probably has a coal and or wood-burning stove. There is one door. Does not really look like a safe place to be if there's a fire or another emergency. A lot of schools and churches in Wilson County at this time, especially the rural ones, were built on a similar plan to this building. This is the Boykin School. It also was in Oldfield Township, and it is a 2-room school, so there probably would have been 2 teachers. It may have been grades 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 in half the building, and 5 through 6 or 5 through 8 in the other half of the building. There's not going to be a school bus to get there. You're not going to be walking. You might have an outside pump. You might have a well. There'd be a bucket of water. You would have a bucket and a dipper in it, and that's what everybody would drink from. I do understand after this school closed, it may have been converted to a house, which may have been what happened to a lot of these old buildings. But this was a typical 2-room school of the period. And as far as a playground, as you can see, pretty much forget it. You would go outside, you might bring a ball and a bat from home, girls might bring a jump rope, but there's not going to be playground equipment and swings the way we are used to. Now, if you're thinking a lot of these schools have familiar last names, you are correct. A lot of the schools took their names from the family who originally sold or donated land for the school, or they may have been named after families who had a large presence in the area. This is one of 2 schools named Lamb's School. This one was in Oldfield Township. It does not appear on the first map because it closed right about the time the map was made. Basically, this school was abolished in about 1918, 1916, so it would not have appeared on the first map because it was no longer in use. Again, you can see you've got 4 windows on the side, 2 windows to the front, and one door for going in and out. Now this is Lamb School. It's another one-room school, and it was in Wilson Township, close to the town of Wilson, and I have been told it was pretty much probably located about where Cracker Barrel is now. This is Buckhorn School. It is a 2-room school, and I can easily see how somebody might think later this school would be converted into a house. It was originally built in the 19th century on land donated by the Hennett family, and the land did revert to the family circa 1921 when a more modern Buckhorn School was built. This is the Burris School. It was located in Saratoga Township, and again, it was a 1-room school. After the Burris School closed, it was purchased by Good News Church, who moved it and then used it as their sanctuary until 1951. It was then preserved on the grounds of the new church. This photo, which actually shows up pretty well, is of the Eagle School, which was a 2-room school, and it was also located in Saratoga Township. This is the Upper Black Creek School, and it was 1 room, and it was located in Crossroads Township. This is the Old Saratoga School, and it is an example of a 3-room school. Saratoga got a new school in 1922. This is the Old Elm City School, and on the 1917 map it is listed as a high school along with Stantonsburg, Rock Ridge, Lucama, and Wilson. A new school was built in 1922, and it had 16 rooms. Now this is an example of a 2-story frame school. This is Rock Ridge. It was built around 1914 and is listed as a high school in 1917. And high school does not necessarily mean grades 9 through 11 or 8 through 11. It can mean grades 1 through 11. A new school was built in 1923. It had 16 rooms, which seems to be the norm for Wilson County, and the new school was valued at $87,450. This is the new Buckhorn School that replaced the old 2-room schoolhouse. As you can see, it's made of brick, it had indoor plumbing, and it probably had steam heat, so it was a whole lot nicer than what the students were used to. It was for grades 1 through 6. It was built in 1924 for 183 students, and is an example of the type of school Dr. Kuhn wanted, so typical of what you would see for the schools built between 1917 and 1924. Now, what was it like to attend one of these new schools? Well, here from the 1924 report, we have a program or a schedule for a day in the 4th grade. 9 to 9:15 religion, Bible. I don't know if that means they were studying the Bible or the teacher was reading the Bible. Certainly not something we would do now. 9:15 to 10:15, there were 2 classes, but the teacher was teaching reading. 10:15 to 10:35, you had 20 minutes on phonics and spelling. 10:35 to 10:50, so basically 15 minutes you had recess. Probably go outside, run around, maybe boys on one side of the school, girls on the other, or they may go separately. 10:50 to 11:20, geography or history, or geography and history. 11:20 to 11:50, you had writing. There were 2 classes of that. You have to understand everybody was taught cursive and you were graded on it, and there was a certain system you had to use, a certain way you had to form your letters. All schools would have used the same system. 11:50 to 12:15, handwork or drawing. I'm not sure what handwork is. I could not find a definition. 12:10 to 12:40 was 30 minutes for lunch. 12:40 to 1:20, 40 minutes you had language, English, grammar, that kind of thing. 1:20 to 2:20 you had arithmetic. 2:20 to 2:30 you had another 10-minute recess, 10-minute break, maybe go get water, maybe go to the restroom. 2:30 to 2:50 you had health or music. 2:50 to 3:30, you had individual help. That meant the teacher could walk around and help students who needed help individually or needed help to catch up. 3:30 to 3:50, you had supervised play, parentheses, physical education. Basically, you were in school from 9 to 4. I could not understand why the children were in school until 3:50, and then I realized, well, they didn't start until 9 o'clock. So then it made a little bit more sense. This is the new Sims School. It replaced a one-room school. It was built in 1923, grades 1 through 6, with a total of 232 students. It was one of 3 schools, Sims, Lambs, and Bullocks, all built in this what was called the Mission Revival style, and all 3 were located in Oldfields Township. Lambs later became a flea market. Bullocks became a club. I think, if I remember correctly, Buckhorn School, the first floor later became a clothing factory. This is the Sims Teachers Home that would have went with the school we just saw. It was completed in 1923 with a value of $6,000. It had 5 rooms, and they were rented to teachers at $5 per month. That was also the rent at the teachers' homes in Stantonsburg, Saratoga, St. Mary's, Buckhorn, Sims, Bullocks, Lambs, New Hope, and Rock Ridge. This is Gardner's School. It had 11 grades. It was considered a high school. It was in Gardner's Township, and it was completed in 1920. In 1924, it had 365 students. When Kuhn first became superintendent, neither the county nor the city offered transportation to students. However, after consolidation, there were bigger schools, but they were further apart, and many students had to travel a greater distance to get there. So in 1918, 5 school wagons, not sure if they were actual wagons or buses, were ordered, and by 1923-24 school year, the system had 68 trucks or buses which carried over 2,000 students. This is the bus garage at Gardner School. This is the Gardner's Teachers Home. So we actually get a look at the whole complex, the school, the bus garage, and the teacher's home. It was completed in 1920. It had 10 rooms and was valued at $12,000, double the value of the teacherage at Sims. So rent here and at the teacher's home in Black Creek was $6 a month, but the one in Black Creek was valued at $16,000, and it was a year newer. And the way this would work is at the first teachers' meeting on Saturday before school began, the principal and the teachers would get together to make some, according to Dr. Kuhn, quote, good and necessary rules for the conduct of the teacher's home. That included a rising hour, a going to bed hour, and hours for meals, the times visitors may be received in the home, the conditions under which teachers may leave the home at night or day in the company of young men. And he said, I suggest the going to bed hour be not later than 10:30, and Saturday and Sundays are often enough to have men callers in the house. And he basically said in the report that if the teachers did not obey these rules and the principals did not let him know that, they were not doing their job. Why did you need a teacher's home? Well, most teachers were unmarried. A lot of them were young. And they may be from out of town. So this is a list of some of the teachers from Sims School in 1924. It gives you their name, their home address, and their teaching address. So the teaching address for all 6 teachers is Sims. They're teaching at Sims School. But if you look at the home address, Miss Rachel Sayers is from Draper, Virginia. Gertrude Melvin is from Stedman. Fannie Perry is from Wilson. Rosa Pridgeon is from Elm City. Marietta Neese is from Waxhaw, and Louise McCain is from Climax. So they're from different places in the state. They're only going to be here about 8 months. They need a place to stay. Might be difficult to find a safe place or a place they could afford in town. Teachers didn't make a lot of money back then either. So that is why they had the teachers' homes. Now, the rules for the teachers' homes may have sounded a little bit strict. Well, that extended to all areas of the teacher's life. Mr. Kuhn wanted a certain type of teacher in Wilson County schools. And there's actually a section in that report called Types of Teachers Not Wanted. And he is showing the form he would send out to the people a prospective teacher had listed as her reference. And in that reference form, Kuhn mentioned that in the past, teachers had failed due to lack of knowledge of subject matter and inability to manage children. However, he also stated teachers failed on account of keeping the company of sorry men, night riding without a chaperone. I guess he means going off at night without a chaperone. Attendance on rotten vaudeville and sorry moving picture shows. He did not say if that meant certain ones or what made him consider them rotten, or if he meant all movies and vaudeville shows. And entertaining company until late hours at night and not taking vital interest in the church and Sunday school work and other community activities. And he actually put a paragraph down at the bottom. If you think this applicant will and can avoid all of the above sources of failure, I shall appreciate your saying so. If you think there is doubt about her, notice only her, not him, having enough good sense to avoid these sources of failure, I shall appreciate your frankness. We are after teachers who are in earnest about doing what they are paid to do. We prefer that all other kinds go elsewhere. So that was asked at anybody who submitted a reference for a teacher, and they were supposed to say yes or no and give it back to Dr. Kuhn. And as you can see from this teacher's contract in 1924, a teacher not only had to list her name, her certification, and how many years experience she had to agree to, and she had to sign this, I further agree I will take a vital interest in school and Sunday school work and other community activities, that I will not entertain company until late hours at night and thus render my school work next day inefficient, that I will not attend sorry moving picture and vaudeville shows, that I will not fall in love or become familiar with high school students, that I will not attend card and dancing parties, that I will not fail to use good sense and discretion in the company I keep, that will use my best endeavors during the year to improve my work as a teacher, and that I will do nothing to bring disrepute on the home in which I live or to cause right-thinking people to speak disparagingly of me and my work. Now, you may not be surprised at some of the issues because teachers were supposed to be an example to the students and the community, but why was he going on about movies and vaudeville shows and card parties and dancing parties? Well, you have to understand, this is a time of flux, of change for society in general, not just for Wilson County schools. This is in the 1920s. 1918, World War I ended. 1920, women get the right to vote. So things are changing. They're not kept at home anymore. They're more apt to be out working. More people have cars. They're more apt to be traveling around. That may be why he specified, night riding, going out riding in a car at night without a chaperone. And also, this is the era of the flappers, people. Prohibition is in effect. If you were going to drink, you had to go to a hidden bar, a speakeasy. Dresses had gone from long skirts and long sleeves to, if you were in high fashion, they may be up above the knee, they may be sleeveless, and you may not only be dancing, you may be doing dances like the Charleston, you were showing your legs, and you were moving around. And that was upsetting or surprising to a lot of the older people. They just did not know how to deal with it, and that probably included Dr. Kuhn. Unfortunately, African American schools in Wilson County did not receive the upgrades that the white schools did. This is Jones Hill School. It was a two-teacher school built between 1929 and 1930, so after all these new schools we saw in this program. The school board gave $2,500, the Rosenwald Fund gave $500, and the community donated $100 for a total cost of $3,100. Rosenwald schools were built on standard plans, and they had plans that specified where the windows were supposed to go to take advantage of natural light, the size of the rooms, the way the school should be orientated, the placement of the teacher's desk for maximum effect, and also it even had plans for sanitary privies. So they did not expect these schools to have electricity. They did not expect them to have indoor plumbing. So they did the best they could do. They expected them to be heated by a wood or a coal-burning stove. This was a two-teacher school. Now there is a separate video on Rosenwald Schools on the library's YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and do a search for Wilson County Public Library NC the first time. And on there you will find a video about Rosenwald Schools. It was founded by Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald, who was big in Montgomery Ward, and they would match grants or they would donate money to build schools, African American schools all over the South, including several here in Wilson, and one of those schools was Jones Hill. And for a rural community or the African American community, the school served as a place for people to meet. We know the 4-H Club met at Jones Hill. We know Home Demonstrations Club met at Jones Hill School, and they even had a typhoid clinic where you can go in and get inoculated for typhoid at the school. So it was used by a lot of different organizations. It was a gathering place. The best known Rosenwald school we had in Wilson was the Wilson Colored High School, which was built in 1927, 1928. It had 16 rooms like the other county schools, and it later became C.H. Darden. If you are interested in more photos of North Carolina historic schools, please visit digitalnc.org. And I do want to give special thanks to Mr. J. Robert Boykin III, who gave me information about a lot of these schools, including the ones that may be standing or what happened to them after they were no longer schools. Thank you for joining us for Back to School.